Got to tell you, Sean, this early in the morning stuff doesn't work so well for me.
Yeah, the morning never works for anybody, I feel like.
Yeah, maybe not. But our picks worked a little bit yesterday, finally.
Yeah, we're starting to hit a little bit of a rhythm now. You went 2-1, and I went 2-1 as well. The one that cost me was the Dodgers couldn't even beat the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, the one that cost me was the Yankees did. That pitcher, I guess he did get some sleep the night before and put a little bit of a whooping on the Astros. Well, not really. They won 4-0, but it wasn't close. The pitcher, that potent offense for Houston, never really got going. But other than that, the Mets kicked some rear end. They scored, I think, 13 runs or something like that. Yep, that was my one pick. And then the other pick I had, I don't remember right now. But they won big too.
You had the White Sox as well as I did.
Oh, yes.
That was the one. So we didn't do too bad. The ones we've agreed on, I think we're like 2-2 on. So we're not jinxing each other too bad yet.
Yeah, and the thing is, both the White Sox, because of run line them and run line the Mets, they were both plus lines. So that was a very positive day for me yesterday overall. I also had the Cubs in my account, as I talked about earlier. So I went 4-2 overall in my own personal account. And hopefully today, which is a huge day of sports betting, you have UFC we'll talk about. You have the NBA Finals, which we'll talk about. You have the Copa America, which we'll talk about. And then, of course, you have Major League Baseball. And there's probably something else like the major championships of cornholing that we may have missed.
Yeah, there's probably stuff that during COVID was really big that is getting lost in the shuffle right now.
Well, people were betting on all sorts of stuff back then, like Korean baseball and stuff like that. And I guess the numbers would probably, the way I do things would probably still work regardless of where you're playing baseball and so forth. But yeah, you're right. It's kind of lost in the shuffle, right?
Yeah, I tried to bet on that KBO stuff. They would early in the morning and stuff. I did a couple times. I could not get a handle on it at all. So
you just let it be?
Let it be. As bad as I wanted to, I really wanted to play it. I just could not get a handle on it. Some people did, though. I see it, on groups and stuff on Facebook. Some of these people were nailing it right and left.
Well, for me, I mean, I wasn't really too interested in that stuff. But for me, horse racing was still running. Wasn't a full schedule. It was a stripped down schedule for sure. But there were still tracks running pretty much every day. There might have been one dark day out of the week. But so for me, that wasn't that big of a deal. I was able to still do the sport I know probably best. And that was horse racing, and continued on through the whole COVID. So that was at least some relief.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people discovered horse racing during that time and have stuck with it. So it was a big thing for horse racing.
Good for our sport, indeed. So
yeah,
that something that's good for their sport, at least, is Conor McGregor, and he's good for the UFC. Whenever McGregor's around, they do well. Dana White said that this is this UFC fight has the most pre-fight buys out of any fight. And then there's a lot of hype. There's thousands and thousands of people in the stands for the weigh-ins, for the fight news conferences. Have you had a chance to take a look at any of that stuff?
Yeah, I have. And I'm not a big UFC guy, but I found some stats. There's been 13 trilogies, that they faced in UFC. So this is the third time these guys faced. McGregor in 2014 won, and then Poirier
last time out 6 months ago. Yeah,
6 months ago.
Uh-huh.
And 70% of the time, the person that won the second fight wins the third fight as well.
Uh-huh.
So also based on the recency, I mean, McGregor's was in 2014, and how much is he starting to fade and almost done with his career? So I would look at Dustin Poirier here. DraftKings has an odds boost too at plus 150 on either side, so you get value there.
So you're thinking about taking Dustin Poirier
for the odds boost in my personal account? Yeah.
I was watching the press conferences, and to me, styles make fights. And another thing too is Conor McGregor. They asked him, "When are you going to be a billionaire?" He said, 2 more years. He's 33 in a couple days. I have imagined it's got to be hard if you're going to be a billionaire in 2 years. That to get up in the morning, to train, to have that motivation, that same fire to get from where you were to where you are, it's got to kind of be lacking a little bit. And watching the press conferences, I like to pay attention a little bit to their demeanor. And I feel like McGregor's trying to convince himself that he can still fight more than he is trying to intimidate Dustin Poirier. In the old days, it was a lot more natural what was coming out of his mouth. And yesterday, it just felt like he was having eruptions, or at least when I was watching it at the press conference, that it wasn't as natural. It was forced. And I just felt like he was trying to convince himself he can win.
Yeah, and this is one thing, since I don't know as much about fighting, but this is one thing I look at the odds and how people are going to bet. And I feel like the name Conor McGregor is going to attract more action.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to get more value the other way. And the fact that, we said the third fight, 70% of the fighters who won the second one wins. And the fact that he seems to be up and coming where McGregor's kind of regressing a little bit. There's a lot going the other way.
Yeah, McGregor hasn't won a fight since he beat Cerrone, and Cerrone's really not that good anymore. So I can't put a whole lot of stock into that. I do think, in the last fight, Dustin Poirier said he was probably one punch away from being knocked out. So I do give Conor a puncher's chance if he's ready to go. I feel like Dustin Poirier is probably going to win again. He's got more ways to win. There's only one way really for him to lose, and that's for him to get knocked out. If he could stay outside of McGregor's range, he probably wins. So if I were going to do anything, I would probably agree with you and bet the prop or the boost with DraftKings and take plus 150 for Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, and I don't know if everybody has it, but I actually have a thing on FanDuel too as a risk-free bet up to $50 as well. So I could do it both ways as well if you have FanDuel and DraftKings.
Yeah, you could do that and come on ahead one way or the other, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you could put on DraftKings, you can go ahead and bet Conor, and on the other one you can bet Dustin, or you can go the other way around.
Yep.
Depending upon how you feel. I would probably bet at DraftKings the one I thought was going to win and do the risk-free on the other side.
Right.
Would probably be the strategic way to do that, in my opinion.
Yep.
All right, so we both agree Dustin Poirier probably wins, but Conor McGregor does absolutely have a puncher's chance. I don't think there's any question about that. And let's go ahead now and look at the NBA Finals. We have the Milwaukee Bucks, as we know, and the Phoenix Suns. Milwaukee is a 4.5 point favorite, depending upon your book. The over-under, I think, is about 222.
Yep.
Anything you like here?
So these are so hard. Phoenix has dominated the series 2-0. You never know what you're going to get from the home team. They should come out desperate.
Especially down 0-2.
Right. So I don't know how to bet this before live. You might be able to wait till the first quarter, leave Milwaukee come out and have all that emotion. And if you notice, a lot of times this happens, Milwaukee could go up like 18-8, and then they're going to get involved in the game, and the game's going to settle down. Mm-hmm. And then it's going to become a game, and Phoenix might come back. So you could really wait the first 5-6 minutes, leave Milwaukee, get that lead, build up the emotion, and then get Phoenix at a better plus line than you got now.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always that risk, like we've talked about on different bets on Phoenix could just come out and take control right away too. But I don't feel confident in that. I'd let it go. The over is interesting because these two games have gone over so far, and now it's up to the last 6 meetings these teams have faced. They've gone over.
Uh-huh.
But now the line reflected that too. We were getting 219, 220. Now we're up to 222.
Yeah, it keeps creeping higher. Sooner or later, they're going to throw an under in there for sure. Usually Milwaukee plays a little bit better defense at home, and a lot of the scores in the other series were a little bit higher on the road than they were at home. So maybe the under is the way to go. I run my 1,000 simulations. I have Milwaukee winning the game 110 to 108. That means Phoenix covers, but Phoenix only covers about 56%, so 560 out of the 1,000 simulations. Milwaukee covered the rest, obviously. And the game goes under about 64% of the time in the simulations at 222. But like you said, they've been going over. And the one thing about these games is that they've been close enough at the end that the fouling starts. The clock stops, and instead of scoring 4 points per minute, between the two of them, or 3.5, on average throughout the course of the game, and all of a sudden bumps up to 7 or 8 points per minute. And that's where a lot of these games are going over, is at the very end when you have some of this fouling stuff going on and extending the game and getting free points. I feel like these games are going to be close too, and that's going to be an issue with the total as well late, that it'll be a close game, and the team that's losing is going to foul and put the other team on the free throw line, and you're going to rack up points while the clock is stopped.
Yeah, I mean, there is an outside chance. We see this sometimes with like we said, with the emotion. Milwaukee comes out and just takes it right to Phoenix, and Phoenix just doesn't show up tonight, and then game 4, they'll be back. If that's the case, then the under could be really intriguing because you won't have the fouls, and maybe Phoenix just doesn't show up. They have an off-shooting day and just aren't there. So you always run that risk as well. If you're
so are you taking anything in this game?
No. Like I said, maybe a live bet somewhere, but it's too hard when a team has dominated a team pretty good so far, but then they're returning home and they're desperate.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like it's a tough spot to take either team in. About the only thing I would really consider is Milwaukee in the first quarter, but it's minus 170, so it's not even worth it. I would probably take Phoenix plus 150 in that case, just in case Milwaukee comes out a little cold. As far as the betting is concerned, 55% of the bets right now, and it's kind of early still, are on the Bucks. We're not seeing any money numbers yet, so I think I would probably lean Milwaukee to cover the game at home. They're desperate; they need it more, and they tend to play better at home than they do on the road. But I can't bet it. And if I were going to lean or pick a side, if I was forced to, I think it'll be another close game that I would be inclined to take the over on, despite my simulations say going under, because I think, as my simulation said, it's going to be a close game, and that means a lot of free throws at the end.
Yeah, and Giannis has looked great. I mean, he had a great last game, so that's another positive going for Milwaukee as well.
Yeah, so far so good. Two things: we're going to bet Dustin in the plus the odds boost, but we're going to avoid the NBA game unless something goes really out of wire, and we can take the other side in game. That brings us to another pretty, maybe the biggest sporting event in the world today, for those who follow soccer, and that's the Copa America. Soccer. Did you ever think you're going to talk about soccer?
Not really, but hey, you as a sports fan, you see all this stuff, and I don't know much about either team, but this is something that is covered. And one thing I found interesting was that you can still bet on a draw in this game, even though it's a final.
That's because the way that works is that if they go to penalties, it's considered a draw, even though somebody wins.
Yeah,
which is kind of really some really interesting logic. But they're playing in Brazil, but there are going to be no fans. And so one of the things we learned in 2020 with COVID is that no fans means pretty much no home field advantage. The star for Argentina is Lionel Messi, who's trying to win the first major trophy for his country. He's been one of the best players in the world for probably the last decade. Him or Cristiano Ronaldo, the arguments over which one's better. They're both phenomenal generational talents. That's kind of arguing between, is are double stuffed Oreos better than triple stuffed Oreos? You know what I mean? So the question is, can Messi finally get a trophy? And Argentina's trying to get their first major tournament in more than 28 years. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would lean Brazil here, but my concern is if you are betting it and you have the tie, a lot of soccer games do tie at the end of 90 minutes and go to that penalty kick. So you do get value with Brazil. You get a plus line because of that, though.
Right, that gives you a plus line.
Yeah. So
Brazil's let up 2 goals in the whole tournament so far, but in the last game against Peru, they won on an own goal, so the other team scored against itself.
Yeah, I think they've outscored their opponents like 12-2 or something like that. But their competition has not been what Argentina is. So,
no.
Yeah, I find it hard because Brazil's plus 110, the draw's plus 220, and Argentina's plus 280. I mean, it's between Brazil or the draw for me.
See, for me, I don't know. Internally, I feel like from watching some of this tournament, I feel like Argentina's played better. Eventually, a player of Lionel Messi's caliber, and they may have a the second best. Well, Neymar's probably the second best player on the field, but I can't stand Neymar and all his flopping. That's a part of the sport I can't understand. But Neymar takes it to an extreme. Like you walk by him and you breathe on him, he's on the ground like someone shot him in his ankle or something. And even though he got hit on the shoulder, he's grabbing his ankle.
So he's the James Harden of soccer.
I think James Harden is the Neymar of basketball. That's how bad Neymar is. It's hard to watch. Like I would truck him if I played soccer. I'm like, if you're gonna flop, then I'm gonna give you a reason to flop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that to me the value is in Argentina. When these two teams play, it's always a close game. Argentina's won 2 out of the last 4 times they played in Brazil. That was in front of crazy fans. And when I tell you fans in Brazil are crazy, crazy. They make English goons look like choir boys. There was a game in Brazil where the referee pissed off the fans and they decapitated him and ran around the field with his head on a stick. That's crazy.
Yeah, this is some of the stuff that happens in soccer. We, like you said, you think we're nuts. These countries are absolutely, and we have a lot of passionate sports fans, but there is a whole nother level over there.
With soccer, man, the people, they can get out of hand. You got a lot of things going on there. There's national pride, your team pride, right? So you got a lot of emotional factors coming together, and then of course, you're playing against a rival country, and it's through the roof. But so yeah, to me, I think the play is, and you can do this in DraftKings, and a lot of other sports books, is you can bet what's called draw no bet. So if you pick a side and the game does tie, the bet is canceled. So you don't win, you don't lose. And for me, if you do that, Brazil is minus 200 on DraftKings, and you're getting still, I think, plus 160 for Argentina. I think Argentina, I think this game has, like you said, a very good chance to go to, according to Vegas, the second highest probability is the game goes to overtime. So if it goes to overtime, you don't win. You just get your money back. But if Argentina finally does score and get a trophy for Messi, which I think is going to happen, you're still going to get plus 160.
Yeah, I like that strategy because you do have overtime to cover you. All you're saying there is, my girlfriend Hillary says my favorite sport is soccer. Yes, exactly. Total exaggeration. But I do like that strategy there because you do have the overtime to protect your penalty kicks. So all you're saying there is Brazil's not going to win in 90 minutes. So
I'm going to take Argentina plus 160 no bet. That's what I'm going to be playing in my account today. All right, so that gets us through Conor McGregor, Milwaukee basketball, and now we have left something we have every day now, and it'll pretty much be all we have left after the NBA is over until football starts again, right? I guess we will be looking for cornholing afterwards. But we got the Major League Baseball, so let's get into it a little bit. Is there anything in particular that you like today?
Yeah, I like Miami. I know this is tough, and we said yesterday we don't trust either team. I like Trevor Rogers, though, with Miami. And you're getting minus 109. This is a complete 50-50 game. It probably doesn't help that Max Fried, I was on last week, and he got lit up. So I'm gonna take Miami here.
You're gonna take Miami minus 109 in a 50-50 game?
Yeah.
Well, from my experience, I would want at least plus 100 in the game. I figure is 50-50. But we'll see. According to, I know that Trevor Rogers is a great pitcher. The Miami does have the power ranking advantage. They do have the home away run line, run differential advantage. They do win more than 50% of their games at home. Atlanta does lose more than 50% of their games on the road. And if you just go through like projection simulations, the Marlins should win this game 56% to 44%, not pitchers notwithstanding. So I kind of agree with you. I would take Miami if I were going to force the bet, but I'm not. There's not enough value in that game for me.
Yeah, and I mean the Braves are average against lefties. They're 9-9. So I feel like this is one of those games that Braves hitters just don't show up, and they score 0 or 1 run, and I think the Marlins can beat them.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's a 50-50 game, right? So flip of a coin, probably the home team has the advantage. Anything else that you're looking at today?
So the Dodgers in Arizona, I'm going to do something. Another
You're
thing,
gonna go there?
yeah, another thing you
You
don't
didn't
like.
have your field. You didn't have your taste yesterday.
Well, but I'm not going to go with the Dodgers here.
Oh,
I'm gonna I'm gonna do something you don't like at all. I'm gonna play the under.
you're gonna play. Well, I mean, I
On
don't like run lines. I mean, baseball totals, but hey,
So we got Walker Bueller versus hold on 1 second. Caleb Smith.
yeah.
And if just going off of MLB.com, Dodgers hitters are 4 for 38 lifetime against Smith for an average of 105.
Oof.
And then the other way around, Arizona versus Bueller is 15 for 109. They're batting at 138. So I think both pitchers really match up here. The Dodgers have kind of been struggling this last week now as well offensively. And then Arizona, they scored 5 yesterday and got the win, but I wouldn't expect that again, especially with Walker Bueller going. So I'm going to go under 7.5 here.
And what's the number that you're getting on that?
Minus 104.
Minus 104. Yeah, I could see that. I'm not like I said, I don't like totals in baseball. They drive me absolutely bananas because you can have, I mean, you were on a game earlier this year where was it the Cardinals where the line was like 6 or 7.5 or 8, and the game went to extra innings, like 1-1 or something.
Yeah, and you see, those are the ones. Yeah, I lost the bet, but I won the bet because I had the right strategy. It was all there. It was that extra inning rule with the runner on second.
Can we rewind that again? you lost the bet, but you won the bet.
Well, don't you always feel like those kind of bets? You technically like, you know what you said earlier. If you keep taking good shots, so that bet I'll make 100 times, and you know.
Well, that likelihood that you're going to get that's 1 out of 100. You're right. That's a bad beat. That's for sure.
Yeah, and we talk about that extra inning rule all the time. Sometimes in the top half of the 10th or 11th, you know, any of the extra innings, that road team just goes nuts. And it gets out of hand, and it costs you the under a lot of times.
Yeah, for me, all beats are bad beats. I bet I made the right bet from a strategic standpoint, I do make the right bet every time, but it doesn't work out that way every time, unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess that one cancels out with the San Diego one. I got lucky a couple days ago when they were down 8-0, and then they won.
Yeah,
you always remember the bad beats. You never remember the good stuff. So
those are your 2 plays for the day?
Those are my 2 plays for the day.
Oh, boy. I had a really tough time with baseball today, I tell you, to be honest with you. I didn't know really what I wanted to do. I think the only game I really like is the Boston game against the Philadelphia Phillies. They're minus 150. Boston has a dominating home record relative to the Phillies' ability to win on the road. They have a far superior offense at home than the Phillies have on the road. They win approximately a little more than 60% of their home games. Philly loses more than 60% of the road games. And this is a matchup of lefties. So the Boston team is 18-13 versus lefties. Philly is 12-17 versus lefties. Boston at home 28-17. Philly on the road 18-28. Minus 150. I think you're still getting value in minus 150. You might even think about run lining Boston, but I'm just going to bet Boston minus 150. That's my major league play for the day. I'm also thinking about this. You got 2 games between the Mets and the Pirates today, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these 7-inning games are really very difficult. And the game with Stroman pitching, I feel like the Pirates won't really score maybe more than 1, maybe 2 in that, at most 1 in that game. And if the Mets can muster up 3 runs, that might be enough to run line them. And because it's a 7-inning game, the run line for the Mets, I think, is plus like 145 or something like that. So let's see. So I feel like that's a very it's probably 50-50 that it happens in a 7-inning game, but I'm getting plus 145, I think. So let's see. That's plus 125. So yeah, even still.
I could see that. I guess my question is, and we always say, what's the better bet? I understand your strategy with Stroman. Do you take the under on Pittsburgh runs and do it that way and not rely on the Mets bats?
Well, I think when you look at the Pittsburgh team, they can't really score on the road, and the Mets have a tremendous advantage on that regard. So, getting 3 runs is a walk, a infield single, and a homer, and I feel like the Mets can drum up 3 runs in 7 innings. But I'm always loath to bet these games that only last 7 innings because they're over almost as fast as they start.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing you could maybe do if you wanted to, but that's tough too, is Tyler McGregor goes to the second game. He's been really good young pitcher too.
Then the line's actually more in favor for the Mets in that game than it is with Stroman. When you look at the money line, yeah.
It's hard with a doubleheader to say they're going to sweep them, but if you really wanted to get in, you could take the Mets in both games.
Uh-huh. So it looks to me like the run line just dropped to -100. So it must be at one book it's dropped. So maybe that line's going to start coming down. Maybe people are going to start loading up on the Mets on the run line. I don't know, because you really don't see a lot of numbers yet in the actual money bet. So today we covered a lot, Sean. We covered UFC. We both agree Dustin Poirier with the bonus is probably the smart play. Yep. At best, it's a 50-50 fight based upon history. One winner each has 1 win, as Sean mentioned. The rematch in fight 3, 70% of the time goes to the one who won the second fight. So, and that's really styles make fights. And like I said, Poirier has more ways to win than McGregor. McGregor has to knock him out. I do think he has a shot to do that. Copa America, I'm taking Argentina with the +140, +160, depending upon your book. Tie, no bet. And then neither one of us have the courage to bet anything in the NBA Finals because it's just a jump ball up for grabs. And then in baseball, I'm taking the Boston Red Sox -150, and you're going to bet the under in the Dodgers game. Is that right?
And then I bet under 7.5 in the Dodgers, Arizona, and I'm also going to take Miami -109 over the Braves.
Yeah, well, you have a full roster of things to work on, and if that's not enough for you, in a little bit, I don't know what time the first race is at Belmont, but our sponsor, horseracingradar.com, will have a contest free for $100. Just go on over there, make your picks, or you can follow my picks, or you can fade my picks. Last week, all my top picks finished second place, so you can maybe pick second place horses like Bonanza or something later on today. But I'll be covering each race at Belmont Park live with analysis. Pace analysis, how they'll line up early, who's going to be running hard late, and then making my picks as to who's going to win. You go ahead and make your picks. If you happen to win the contest, you win $100. Then you can use that to bet on Conor McGregor or Dustin Poirier later on today.
Yeah, exactly. If you win $100, you'll have it tonight, and you can move it over to your DraftKings, FanDuel, whatever sports book you want to use. You can use BetUS. That's a sponsor of Horse Racing Radar, and just move it over from there.
Yeah, free money.
Take $100 shot on a team, and you can double your money.
Yeah, maybe you open up a new account and get a sign-up bonus like at BetUSA that we do, and you get 150% deposit bonus, and then you can go ahead and bet a whole lot of money on whatever you want. In any case,
and you don't need to know horse racing. You can just pick the horses, and sometimes rookie. We know that rookie success or that first-time success. So.
Mm-hmm. It happens sometimes, yeah. Beginner's luck, as they call it.
Yes, that's what I was looking for. Too early in the morning.
It's too early in the morning. Yeah, it's too early in the morning. Idea is your idea, not mine. And today I'm going crazy too because my allergies are acting up big time. I must look like I've been crying, like my dog died or something. And my nose is all stuffy. So I'm glad that we're able to work our way through this, Sean. It's going to be an action-packed day of sports. We'll be back on Monday. We'll be tweeting out our picks and putting them out on Facebook tomorrow. So make sure you look for that. And where can they find those?
Facebook and Twitter, Moneyline Madmen.
Moneyline Madmen. Make sure you tell your friends about us. You see the subscribe button down there somewhere. Make sure you hit that, hit the bell. You know the routine. You hear it from everybody else on every other YouTube show. Do that so when we get started, you can join us right away. Until then, everybody, good luck at the betting window.